Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the SKNIS Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.
I'm Ian Richards. Welcome to InFocus, a weekly program where we zoom in on what's happening within and throughout the government, your government. The re-energized Department of Constituency Empowerment has undertaken a number of initiatives designed to identify and address issues that affect residents within their respective communities. The first major activity tackles behavioral change in preserving the environment. What projects can the public look forward to as the department seeks to expand across St. Kitts and Nevis? To answer these questions are Colencia Levine, Director of Constituency Empowerment, and Support Officer Derek Fifield. Stay with us as we delve into your government, your business. Thanks for staying with us, and allow me now to welcome Ms. Levine and Mr. Fifield to our program. It's good to have both of you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much for inviting us today, sir.
So, the Department of Constituency Empowerment, most persons may not be aware what it is it does, what its responsibility is. Ms. Levine, tell us what it is.
The department functions mainly to increase the participation and enhance the lives of all Kittitians. But what is interesting is the manner in which this is done. We do this by functioning as an intermediary body between the government and the various entities that serve the people and the people. So we are the middleman, for lack of a better expression. And we build capacity at the constituency level to help people access the relevant services, and we dialogue with the relevant service to let them know that these are the needs, because everyone isn't aware of what's available, and sometimes the different agencies are preoccupied and are unaware that there are needs. So we are the middleman, strengthening, building capacity, and directing.
Now, there's a popular opinion by some persons that the department is political in nature. What do you say to that?
The Department of Constituency Empowerment is not a political entity. We are a government body serving all the people of St. Kitts, and we want to increase the participation of all citizens, and we want to enhance the lives of all citizens, regardless of political lines. We serve St. Kitts and Nevis point blank.
Mr. Fifield, have you encountered any of that out in the field?
Well, what I've been seeing and hearing is, yes, it is political, and some people are saying. However, what is happening though, persons who support different parties than the government are staying back and saying it is not for them because it is for the government supporters. It is not so. This department is for everybody. Now we have people, like I say, shying back. I'm not supporting that. I don't want to get involved in that. So they are making it political. But this department is for every citizen of St. Kitts Nevis, non-political. We don't see color, we don't see party. We see individuals. Every individual have a need, whether they support whatever party, and we are here to meet that need, to enhance the lives. He didn't say to enhance the lives of A, B, or C, but everyone.
So,
who resides here.
what messages do you send to the public when you're engaging with them who may have that concern to say, oh, well, as Mr. Fife said, they're shying away to feel like the representation is not for them. What do you say to the public to convince them?
Well, this reality is not something that we are shocked by. We are aware that the department has a legacy and a reputation, and we do understand that in every revitalization there will be pushback. And so we are here to encourage the country to give us a chance. Give us a try, dialogue, let us know. We're undertaking these sorts of activities to spread awareness and to help in the branding of the department. So all citizens need not worry about political bias. We are here to serve all. And we understand that the history would have played a part in why people have this unreal perception or this misperception. And we are here to do the work to clarify.
And in terms of cooperation from the public now, do you get a sense that they are cooperatives in terms of sharing the type of information outside of the political aspects that we just discussed? When you ask them questions that maybe have a more personal nature, are they willing to come forward and share?
Well, by nature, Kittitians are friendly people. By nature, we enjoy dialoguing and getting along, and so even where a person might be resistant, the demeanor is still friendly, and we are partnering with the public well.
What we have been seeing though and hearing is, well, we did this already. You know, we have had a census just recently. So when we go with questions and dialoguing, oh, this is like what we did before, and we have not seen results. So why you all come now or come again? So we are trying to let the general public know that we are different. We are not a censor collector. We are different. We are collecting different data, and we are going to be doing different things. And the general public will be seeing results from this department.
And so a question as a follow-on to what you just mentioned is that what persons may ask, so why don't you just collect the information that may be overlapping there from the census information, from the whatever sort of a survey might have been carried out before? Why is that not practical?
Well, what persons need to understand is that data collection is not a general endeavor. Each time you attempt to collect data, there are specific variables that come into play. The census collected data on a wider scale. Our department focuses on the community level, and so our data will capture nuances that the census did not. As well, because this is our job, we have the time to move to the community in a systematic way to capture specific data as well as follow up in a way that the census is unable to do. This is our job 24/7. This is our mandate, and so we're taking our time and we are investigating and following up as necessary. So yes, there is data that we can refer to for general guidelines, but then we're not stopping there. We're going to the community level to do further investigation so that, as I said in the beginning, we can strengthen, bolster and build capacity where necessary. The broader entities that have data may be functioning, as I said, on a wider level, but with our intervention we can help to fine-tune and target to bring better results.
Let's talk a bit about your responsibilities as director of the department. What does that entail?
Well, in a basic sense, I help to interpret for the staff estimates 2023. That is the base from where our objectives and our mandate comes from. So in the first instance, I will help to close that gap and show that based on what the ministry, the government, mandates for the department, and break it down into palatable bites. For instance, helping them to appreciate what the vision of the department is, the mandate, the concepts that govern our behavior, and then of course finer details like the work plan and the execution. I also function as the go-between between the other departments and the staff. So I facilitate that intermediary action in the first instance.
Mr. Fifield, you are a support officer, constituency empowerment support officer. So it's a unique title. I've never heard that before.
It is a unique title. Now, each constituency has 3 officers. There is the constituency officer and 2 support officers. The word support speaks for itself. Now, what we do, however, is we go around collecting data with the officer. One person may not see it all. However, with 3 going different directions, we will be able to capture more data on a given day or a given time. Hence, then we put a report to the constituency officer herself, and then the constituency officer is responsible to send in a report weekly to the coordinator. So we are in support of the constituency officer.
Can you give us a sense of the makeup of the department? Now, Mr. Fairfield just indicated, of course, that there's a constituency officer and there are support officers as well. And I would imagine that would include NIVIS as well?
Well, we do serve NIVIS. However, our service to NIVIS is in collaboration. For example, we're partnering with the Community Aging and Disabilities Department, and we will be venturing to NIVIS. However, our data collection in the first instance is focused in St. Kitts. As Mr. Fifield said, the department has constituency officers supported by 2 support staff. They report to 2 coordinators. The country is divided into 2 districts, District 1 to 4 and 5 to 8. Those 2 coordinators will then service reports to the deputy, who will have an overall impression of what's happening and liaise between the staff and myself as the director. So the deputy controls the working of the staff, where I connect the outside department to the staff. That's the basic makeup of how the department is organized.
And I gather that there would be a lot of collaboration with private public sector agencies. I imagine community development would be one of those.
Yes. When we culminated our World Environment Campaign, one of the things that we did is put the department face to face with a number of stakeholders across the spectrum, so that we could let them know, 1, we are here, 1, we are revitalized, and 2, these are our findings as it relates to your department. And what the stakeholders were able to do was communicate to us how they typically respond to the various situations that we presented to them. The deputy was tasked with formalizing these alliances and communicating to the staff, this is the response. When it comes to issues that relate to solid waste management, this is how we respond. Community development, this is how we respond. Environment, etc. And so we had a campaign that took us across the spectrum of the different agencies. And so they know we are here, and the reception was well, and we have formalized in many instances partnerships with them. And one of the things that I was happy to hear from the departments is that they welcome our efforts and they see how our presence can strengthen what they do. I recall one of the entities said to us that this is actually brilliant because the public will see us as what we are, a hand to help, and allow for the information to come smoother to the department, who may oftentimes be perceived as hostile or, you know, the big stick coming in. And so they welcome the partnership, and we're very happy for that.
These departments, to name, the Department of Statistics, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Community Development, the Department of Environment, the Ministry of Health, and the Solid Waste Management Corporation, along with NEMA. So we have formed partnership and alliances with all these different departments.
Now, solid waste is a statutory cooperation, the rest are public sector. Any collaborations with private sector entities?
At this point, we have not formalized any relationships. However, we do plan to do that during our engagement phase, and private partners will be a big part of our volunteer recruitment drive framework. So the department is new, and we have just concluded our observation phase, and so these are the partners that we've negotiated with for the observation phase. Engagement phase, you will be hearing from our private partners. I'll wait for some more questions before I spill too much.
And how long was the engagement, the assessment phase?
The observation phase ran from the 19th of April to the 30th of June. Before that, the staff engaged in training.
Okay. Well, you referred to earlier the activities that were surrounding the World Environment Month, and so we'd want to get into that a bit, but we're going to take a quick break. So we encourage you, viewers and listeners, to stay with us. We'll be right back with more in Focus. Welcome back to InFocus. We continue our conversation with Ms. Levine and Mr. Fifield from the Department of Constituency Empowerment. Now, of course, we mentioned that the World Environment Month was in June. There were a number of activities that were held by the department, or should I say by the Ministry of Environment, which of course Constituency Empowerment falls under. Tell us why, Mr. Fifield, was it important to tackle environmental change as the first major activity for the department?
It was important because we here in St. Kitts Nevis, I feel that we are a step behind other regional countries in terms of single-use plastics. And during our observation phase, we have been seeing a lot of illegal dumping and disposal of garbage improper. So I feel that this segment that the ministry took to tackle first was very important. We are on a drive. If you realize, in the month of June, every Monday was No Plastic Monday. Now we have gone further to include it in July, every Monday. I don't know if you saw the flyer that continued in July. So this is one of the things that we are pushing full speed ahead to rid the single-use plastics.
To add, we must be cognizant of the fact that St. Kitts is moving towards a sustainable small island, or small island sustainable state.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes, that is the status that we want to attain. And so part of that is environmental consciousness. And part of making this step is behavioral change, and especially where the environment is concerned. And we know that change takes time. And so we felt that one of our inaugural activities should make a step towards the sustainable small island state. And we feel proud of the activities that we've embarked on, and from the feedback, we feel that we have taken a step in that direction, and we are happy to be a part of the lead as we move St. Kitts in that direction.
St. Kitts and Nevis,
St. Kitts and Nevis, yes.
Give us a sense of what those activities were.
So the campaign had 4 main parts. We had our dialogues with the various stakeholders that targeted environmental concerns. We had our media tour, which this is a part of. We had an awareness tent pop-up activity, and then we have our volunteer recruitment drive. Those were the 4 main activities.
Yes. The pop-up tents took place on June 27th and June 29th, where we erected tents in different constituencies. And the 27th was number 1, 4, 7, and 5. Those were on the 27th. And on the 29th were the other 4, 6, 8, 3, and 2. Now, what we saw, it was welcomed by the community. It was something that they looked forward to and never had, or something that they welcomed. We got feedbacks like, I like this, you know, you're coming out to us. So what it was all about is we put up tents, and the 3 constituency officers were there. We collected data, shared information, and stuff like that.
And what type of information was gathered, really?
Well, before I respond, what I want to add to something that Derek said, and I want to commend the staff for the initiative they took during the pop-up activities. Many of the staff took it upon themselves to engage the stakeholders who we dialogued with in the first instance, and they invited them to the pop-ups. So in many cases, we had officers from the Department of Health collaborating with us, as well as community development. And I recall one officer saying that the activity not only helped to share information, but also helped to clarify misinformation. And I thought that was so powerful. And as Mr. Fifield said, the community was happy to see us reaching out. And for us, that is the establishment of our intermediary body. That is us standing in the gap, bridging the gap for these entities and the people. So to answer your question in terms of what information was shared, our findings, what we would have observed, because in many cases, if you don't see it, you don't know it exists. And if you are aware, you will want to join the cause. And so we shared our findings. We also encouraged persons towards best practices as to how to alleviate the negative trends that we saw. We also were able to inform people of how the stakeholders advise us to respond, because in many instances, people were not aware that there is a response. For example, solid waste management has the ability to ticket derelict vehicles, abandoned lots, that sort of thing. NEMA has a number of responses that once the district managers are aware, can respond to. And so we share that information with them. We also shared some of our upcoming events, as well as our pledge card, which is part of our volunteer recruitment drive.
Can you tell us some of the findings, Mr. Fifield, during this engagement with the public? What was it like during the pop-up tent engagement?
Well, the ones that stood out to us mostly were littering, illegal dumping. We saw unhealthy conditions, like poor sanitation. We also saw improper disposal of waste. People were just disposing the waste any old manner. We saw unkept abandoned lots. We here in St. Kitts Nevis, we know families have a piece of land or have a property and they move on, they migrate, and these properties start to get overgrown, dilapidated. We also saw a lot of derelict abandoned vehicles, and we saw a need for fixing all of this, a greater need for getting the community individuals, giving them a sense of ownership now to correct all of this.
So whose responsibility is it then primarily? Of course, I would imagine it would be the agency, Solid Waste Management in this case. But where does Department of Constituency Empowerment come in?
Well, I want to go back to the question you're asking for a bit. Whose responsibility is it? In the first instance, and as for the department's core value, it's our responsibility. Each and every one of the members that make up St. Kitts and Nevis, it's your responsibility in the first instance. And if you look at our paraphernalia that our department advertises, we have a slogan, waste, our responsibility. And that is one of the messages that we want to make clear to the public. It's your responsibility. The garbage does not belong to solid waste. It belongs to each and every one of us. And so to answer, it's everybody's individual responsibility, especially if we are to move to a sustainable small island state. Okay, now there are entities tasked with being a part of the team to take care of the waste disposal. So solid waste has a responsibility to dispose of your waste. Solid waste has a responsibility to help to remove your derelict vehicle. Parks and Beaches cleans your lots. But we do not want the message to be taken that waste, garbage, litter belongs to other entities. It's ours. And we want Kittitians and divisions to know that we have to be part of the change, and the buck should stop with us. We should be calling the different entities and saying, our waste is here, we're ready for you to come and get it. Right? And that's the kind of behavioral change that we want to be part of our revitalization and the reculturing of Kittitians and divisions.
Any sense that there is a big clamoring for recycling? Do people understand what it is? Are people willing to participate in recycling?
From what I'm seeing, with the recent introduction by the Taiwanese, people are making an effort. to recycled plastic. I don't know if you have observed the Tuesday collection and the Thursday's collection by the Taiwanese. I think Thursday they're at the airport roundabout in Connery, and Tuesday they're by Best Buy parking lot. And if you see the amount of plastic bottles they collect, and people are taking them, they're not going around to your house to pick them up. So I think that we as a community, we are making a serious effort. I'm going to tell you, I have pledged to do that, and I've been doing it for the past month. Every single plastic bottle I use, I put it in a separate bag. However, I am not taking them to the place. I'm giving to someone who is collecting them on a larger scale to take. So yes, people are making a desperate effort here in St. Kitts Nevis.
To add to what Derek is saying, this is where our department comes in, to facilitate this inclination within persons to make a change. People inherently love their communities, they love where they live, and in many cases, they have the desire, but they don't have the mechanism or the technical support, and that's where we come in. And we want to encourage efforts like the one Derek spoke about, where he's partnering with someone else to make a change. This is the sense of community that we want to emphasize and help to bolster.
And Derek said that he made a pledge, and I imagine that there is an initiative that the department has. It's called an environmental pledge card, and you referred to it earlier as well too. What's that about?
So the pledge card has two parts. The first part is the pledge card that comes back to the department, and on it you put your name, your address, your contact information, because we will be holding you accountable, and you indicate what you're committing to. How are you, in your small corner in the world, going to take a step towards environmental consciousness, towards a sustainable small island state? What can you, from your corner of the world, do? How can you take ownership? How can you become a part? And then we have a tinier section that you keep and you put on your refrigerator to remind you of the pledge that you made. So this is one of the tools that we're going to use to help to foster ownership in citizens as we move towards small island state.
So how is it evaluated? They fill out the cards, they submit them to the department?
The signing up of the card happens in real time. So you give it to the officer, you don't send it to the department. Based on the interaction, you sign up on the card and you hand it back to the person immediately, and then you keep yours on the refrigerator or wherever in your wallet, wherever you can remember it. Now, it is important to note that the work of the department is field-based. So the officers will be seeing you, they will become your friendly neighborhood fixture. And so when you leave at mornings and you see them, Derek can say, remember that pledge, how is it going? Because you will see them. Our office is the community.
Mm-hmm. And so, well, this question may be a bit strange to ask, because there's no way really to enforce it. Like, there are no penalties, are there?
Penalties are what happened to St. Kitts. Big stick or, well, let me rephrase. The stakeholders who we engage with do have penalties. There are fines, there are restrictions and that sort of thing. That exists. However, our department's focus is to help you to appreciate that the consequence is what happens to St. Kitts. That is the ultimate motivator that you should need. And again, we understand that in the first instance, everybody's not going to get it right in the first time, and that is why we're taking this gentle approach where the officers become fixtures and are able to nudge you in that direction. Now again, the stakeholders have assured us that the big stick is there. You can be fined, you can be ticketed, but we want people to accept that they are responsible and can do small things to realize a better St. Kitts.
So, Mr. Fifield, what has the response been like to the pledge cards?
It has been great. Just on the 27th, like I said, in our pop-up, we had a large number of persons making pledges. And however, the pledge does not stop with your practices. The pledge can go forward with saying, I volunteer myself in a better environment upkeep. For instance, the department will be going on a drive, cleaning up. So we are having people pledging that whenever there's a cleanup campaign, I will be there. I have a truck, I will volunteer my truck. I am able-bodied, I will volunteer my service. And these are some of the pledges as well that we are getting from persons. Because like one lady in Boardwalk area, she said, I am already living this type of environmental friendly life. So I'm going to pledge my time to volunteer for any cleanup campaign, any awareness drive. She's not a member of staff, but she's pledging her time to us. So that is what we have been seeing.
Do you have any statistics to share with regards to how many persons would have signed up already?
Not at this time, but that is information that we will be able to furnish the public with when we're ready to launch the drives.
And so, well, persons who may be interested in signing up for a pledge now, how can they do so?
Your officers are your first point of contact. They are in the field, they are in your communities. However, we do have some contact information.
We have our email address is empowerment@gov.kn. And telephone number is...
Sorry, it will be empowerment@gov.kn.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And the telephone number for our office is 465-3050.
Okay. Well, we know that there are, as we spoke about earlier, a number of collaborations that do take place, and one of them is with the Chipping organization. It certainly is an interesting name. I find it very catchy. We'll want to talk about that and other engagements and other activities that the department is carrying out after this quick break. Viewers and listeners, stay right with us. We'll be right back.
If you haven't done it as yet, please do it today. Subscribe to our YouTube page at SKNIS Media for regular updates, live coverage, and even more information on your government. While you're at it, like, share, and interact with our Facebook and Instagram pages at SKNIS Media and SKNIS Info.
Welcome back to InFocus. We continue our conversation with officials from the Department of Constituency Empowerment. Mr. Veen, we spoke about a bit earlier about the collaboration with stakeholders and Chipping organization, as I mentioned. What is that? What do you do with them?
The Chipping organization is a volunteer corps that serves in a number of capacities to help bring about positive change in the communities. Ms. Fainora Eibel is the contact person who's been in touch with us, and what she has helped us to do in the first instance is to form our framework, visualize how it is that we're going to go about embarking on this drive, and furnishing us with best practices.
Okay, and so what would you say is the scope of the partnership at this time?
Right now, we have the framework in place, and through our pop-ups, we've been feeling out the response. And so, with our SKNFA Super 6 collaboration, that will be our first test run to see the real-time response of volunteers, the manifestation of the pledges, and testing out Ms. Eibel's recommendations. The Super 6 collaboration will be our pilot, essentially.
Mr. Fifield, what is this collaboration about with the SKNFA?
Well, the Super 6 SKNFA collaboration is a collaboration between the SKNFA's final 6 teams, the top 6. Presently, you have 12 premier teams, and at the end of the season, you have 6 teams that makes the top 6 for a playoff. Now, the collaboration here with the department and the SKNFA Super 6 is one where these 6 teams will go to their communities and bring a project to the department. Now, one of the main persons on this from the department is Mr. Ayende Osborne. He's not on screen today, but he's one who taking the lead on this. And everybody knows him as Yande. He's one of the persons taking the lead on the SKNFA Super 6. Where Ms. Levine will continue, and where, for instance, the last year Super 6, the champions were St. Paul's. they have already indicated their project.
Which is?
Which is an upgrade to the stadium. Now, the department has pledged a certain amount of money. I don't know if Ms. Levine can expose the amount. And if the project is more than that, we see how we can get them, bring it down so that they don't have to put too much in it after they have reached the top level that we are going to put.
So to continue with what Mr. Fifield is explaining, when we started the conversation, you would have noted rightfully that there's a political connotation to the department from the past, and we're trying to demystify that. I've also exposed thus far that we want to engender accountability and ownership in our communities. These partnerships are the embodiment of all of those concepts coming together. We have an intermediary function. The SKNFA are on the ground, they're in their communities. We have resources. So we're going to partner with them to identify what is it the community really needs. Mr. Fifield would have explained that one group would have suggested an upgrade to their facility. This facility serves not only the team, but funerals, camps, and other community activities. So the football team in and of itself is not just seeking to make itself better, but honoring its commitment to the community within which it's housed. We have another team who would have came up with a project to use their community center to catch water, given the water crisis. We have another team who is exploring the idea of doing soft skills engendering within their teammates to help to make them more employable. No, we are not simply giving resources to these teams. We're not simply identifying projects that could help from our resources. In order to fulfill the partnership, the teams have to agree to participate in our volunteer activities. They have to commit to continuing to work with us. It's not just something for something anymore. It's something for St. Kitts. And so the resources do not end when your project is completed. It continues, and we revive that sense of community. And so the SKNFA will be with us on our cleanups, and we're hoping that this will inspire community members and fans to come on board and inspire persons to reflect on their pledges and come on board, because communities are filled with leaders, and the SKNFA have some inspiring players who can contribute to St. Kitts beyond their football contribution, and we want to let Kittitians know that your power goes beyond your talents.
And it really was a groundbreaking agreement, quite frankly, involving the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association. Of course, persons would look at football players and consider them as celebrities in their own right. And so having persons with that type of stature, that type of standing within the community, being involved in this certainly reflects the type of vision that I think went behind this project.
That, you said it perfectly. You said it perfectly. And this is part of the goal and the core of the department, using the community, shifting the resources, building the capacity you already have. The SKNFA Super 6 has been alive before the department has been revitalized. They're out in their community, but how can we make this better? How can we make this serve us in a greater way? And how can we take this across community lines? And we want people to know that you are not just a celebrity, you're an ambassador. You are a citizen who can make a difference. And we feel that the SKNFA is just one of the best ways that we can go about doing this. And just as we did with the environment campaign as our first move, we're happy to make this groundbreaking, innovative move with the SKNFA.
let me say, Ian, to other sporting disciplines, that we are reaching out to them as well. It's just not about the SKNFA. They are the pilot project, but we know we have netball, and netball has been dying, and somehow they're trying to revitalize. We have cricket. We have other sporting disciplines. So it's just not about the SKNFA alone. Going forward, we are inviting other sporting disciplines to come forward to us and see what we can do in not only revitalizing the sport, but having them involved in the community development as well.
Now, the department also is pursuing what it calls a green space campaign. What's that about?
I'm actually happy to be here with Mr. Fifield for that question, because he would have actually said something to me regarding this concept that I thought was revolutionary. The department is going to embark on furnishing spaces, green spaces within communities where persons can gather, relax, fellowship, engage in community activities with an awareness twist. Bearing in mind that the spaces are to inspire and to motivate you to continue on the environmental path. However, when we were discussing, we were noting that some communities don't have quote-unquote green spaces, and Mr. Fifield would have said that, you know, we can reclaim concrete, we can green concrete, and I was like, this is the kind of innovation that the department needs, and I was very happy to be a partner with him in that conversation. And so we're going to go into the communities and identify these ideal spaces, green or not, that we can green. And by green, we don't just mean plants, we mean innovation, forward-thinking, sustainable island state. We want to make a push for climate action where the fixtures within the spaces are environmentally conscious. The paint we use, the materials we use, the opportunities we exploit for recycling, for signage, for branding. So we want to create these pockets within the communities where persons are inspired, and the spaces do more than just service us physically, but motivate us and inspire us to give more and be more for St. Kitts and Nevis.
What inspired that, Mr. Fifield?
What we are seeing is everyone thinks of a green space as a lawn with play park. That's how we think. And so we get the name green space. Ms. Levine said it perfect. It don't have to be a lawn with a swing, a slide. It can be an area. I've seen them in other countries where it's a meditation area. It's an area for concentration. The elderly can go, have access to it. It don't have to be a green space just for kids. And in our communities, there are areas designated for green spaces. However, what we are seeing is vehicles parking up on them. Abandoned vehicles are placed on them. So we need to get away from that. Hence, sometimes when the dry weather comes around, the green spaces that we have becomes a problem for kids who are asthmatic. They can no longer access the area because the area is dry. So the word green space don't always have to be a land area, and that is what we are trying to get away from. We still enhance that, but we can add to it rather than just having grass and swings and slides.
Again, any idea in terms of timelines when this will be rolled out?
We do have timelines. We do have timelines.
Then you leave it there.
Yes.
All right. Well, we look forward to hearing more from you on that regard. And let me also ask about the volunteer program that you mentioned earlier, because what does that entail, first? Before I get to the next question, what does the volunteer program look like?
Okay, so the volunteer framework targets a number of partners, individuals, businesses, seeded partners. These would be persons who the department will lend resources to, and cross-departmental. And what we will do is have a punch card system where, when the department decides on which initiatives we're going to undertake, your partnership, you punch the 12 cards, will allow for the renewal of your relationship with us. Whether you be an individual, and so we will partner with our business stakeholders to incentivize you. Our business partners, when you contribute your incentives, we will renew. Whether it's marketing, branding, letting the world know that you're the best thing. And with our seeded partners, when you bring your community to help our venture, our partnership continues. So we want people to know that, again, it's not something for something, it's something for St. Kitts. And we are partners, and this partnership is not, it doesn't expire when you get what you want. the partnership continues, and we want you to help us to make St. Kitts better. So that's the idea behind the punch card system. The more you help, the more we engage.
And incentivizing can look like?
Incentivizing can go from, well, the hope is it can move from whatever tangibles our business partners can offer, as well as opportunities like training, scholarships, workshops, that sort of thing, because community leaders who are in a position of affluence may not necessarily view an incentive as something tangible, but they may benefit from an experience or training or workshops or something like that. So again, we want people to know it's not about the tangibles, full stop. We have to begin to see that our potential is beyond things that we can physically hold, and that is what will take us to the sustainable island state. That is what will allow us to reclaim concrete and green many of our spaces, right? And so we're hoping that incentives will have a spectrum, tangibles to opportunities.
Can you imagine? We're out of time. We're out of time already. It's such a fascinating conversation. Mr. Levine, Mr. Fifield, thank you very much for agreeing to be on our program today. We certainly hope that, well, we found the information insightful, and we hope that our viewers and our listeners also would have done the same.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much, sir, for having us today.
And that's it for today's program. Be sure to join us next week at the same place at the same time for another edition of InFocus. I'm Ian Richards.
Join us every Wednesday for InFocus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio, and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. InFocus, your government, your business.